call, I'll simply announce the members of the committee who are present. Mr. Keegan, Ms. Ayers, Mr. Hooverman, and myself, Tom Livingston. Also from the council tonight is Ms. McMurray. Okay. Is there anybody who has signed up to speak? Public participation?
We have 4 attendees and 2 hands raised.
Okay. Just remind people, having a 3-minute time limit. Okay.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Diane Lauricella. Hello, thank you for letting us have a time to speak. I'm here tonight to just speak to 2 items on your agenda. The first one is item C, 1 through 4, relating to oil tank removals. I wanted just to ask the question, which I would either love to see answered or someone could reach out to me afterwards, and that is, which schools and public buildings still have underground fuel tanks remaining in place? I highly recommend that we find money to remove them as soon as possible. For those of you new to the council, I am a former regulator with the Department of Environmental Protection. Part of my work was to take a look at underground tanks that contain toxic materials and old gasoline and fuel. In this case, we have, of course, heating fuel, but everyone knows that these tanks eventually will leak either in the joints of the pipes or the actual tank. So I wanted to know, after tonight's vote, which underground tanks still remain in the entire city, not just the schools, and I would love to know that. Number 2, item G, Norwalk High School design options. I just have following questions, and I'll say them very quickly. Number 1, was a preliminary test done yet of geologic testing done under the football field? I have been told that there is quite a bit of ledge there, and anyone in the construction industry knows that while we can build anything anywhere, drilling into ledge is much more expensive and can cause offsite blast damage. In addition, there is a chance that radon gas could be part of the issue, which would be a bigger cost and also a potential health issue. Number 2, why were there not more alternatives than just A and B that will be presented to you tonight? Did you look at off-site, different sites off-site from this particular lot? Did you also look to see for temporary space for students, like at the Merit 7 or Norden complex, just for the 3 years to 4 years you would need to build a new high school? I also just wanted to know quickly, could you please answer Ms. Diana Carpio's good question about the recent expenditures that had been invested in the current Norwalk High School since over the last 10 years? That answer was not, there was no answer given that was complete. I recommend that you all listen to Monday's YouTube meeting of the Board of Ed special meeting of the Facilities Committee, because it's quite eye-opening as to answers given. And then just lastly, could you please tell us, while I don't expect you to do a traffic study until you know which plan you are using, why was there no traffic computer modeling done for option B? That would have given you a little better idea as to what we're talking about, not only on King Street, but also Strawberry Hill and of course, County Street. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you. Just let the record reflect that Mr. Burnett joined the meeting at 7:04. Okay, who's next to speak? Go ahead, Tyler. Tyler?
Yeah. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So I had sent an email earlier today asking that the item G on the agenda be tabled, which was the approved design option for the New Norwalk High School. I was informed that it already has been tabled because of the action, or the inaction rather, taken at the Board of Ed facilities meeting. So I do appreciate that that was slowed down a little bit, and we'll hopefully take a little more time to look at it. But nonetheless, I wanted to just offer my comment to be sure we keep the spotlight on this. I'm speaking specifically to option B. I think some of this applies to option A as well, but option B seems to be the one that we're going with when the time comes. So I just want to stress how important it is that none of the following has happened yet, right? No environmental review, no traffic study, no air quality, noise analysis, site design details, information about the number of events that are going on at the building, addressing cleaning, landscaping, outreach to King Street, right? None of that stuff has happened yet. And I know one of the things that was discussed at the last Board of Ed meeting, from the city was that, well, we can't know that stuff until we pick an option, right? We pick A or B and then we do that stuff. That's entirely backwards. That it can't happen that way. You can't pick an option not knowing the answers to those questions, right? So I would ask that if anyone is going to vote on this, whether it's the Board of Ed, whether it's council committees, whether it's the full council, the full Board of Ed, you have to know the answers to those questions, and you have to be able to present those to the public, the taxpayers, and the voters, because we need to know that information, right? So if it's option B, and it turns out there's going to be a bus depot in my driveway or a 60-foot building because no one got to review it ahead of time, that's a big deal, and maybe we wouldn't have selected option B. So I would implore the city to do that. If we don't have the time to do that, if we don't have the money to do that, then we shouldn't be doing the project, and we shouldn't be doing option B. Those things have to happen first, right? So I'm in the process of putting together my annual plan in the city planning work I do. We don't let our grant recipients proceed with a bathroom renovation until we've completed an environmental review. So this stuff needs to happen ahead of time. I did get an email from the city today offering to meet with myself and my neighbors next week, and I do appreciate that. A lot more work needs to be done before you can even consider which one of these options to go for. And I'll leave you for the evening. This plan for myself and my two immediate neighbors is going to put a 330,000 square foot building 80 feet from my front door. So I would ask the six of you who I can see on the screen right now, if you would have any problem with that, any questions, any concerns about that at your home, don't do it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Has anyone else signed up to speak?
No other hands raised at this time.
Okay, does anyone have any public comments that they want read into the record? Okay, seeing none or hearing none, I will close public participation and move to the approval of minutes from the previous meeting. I should note that the minutes of the meeting of the January 5th meeting are not included, so we'll add those for next time. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of January 26th, the special meeting? Ms. Ayers, thank you. Any comments, corrections, additions? Seeing none, all in favor, indicate by raising your hand. Okay, Mr. Burnett, are you, any abstentions? You abstaining? Oh, you have 4 abstaining? 4. Okay, thank you. So it's unanimous. All right, we'll move into the new business. First item is to review the request from the Norwalk Seaport Association for the continued use of pier access in North Water Street parking and refer the following to the recommendation to council for approval. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the license agreement with the new Norwalk Seaport Association, Inc. for access to the Hope Dock from North Water Street parking lot to extend the agreement period retroactively from February 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion? Anyone? Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Okay, Alan, who's going to speak to this?
Mr. Tony from
Mr.
from
Tony,
Seaport.
go ahead.
Welcome. Thank you all for considering. This is just a renewal of the ongoing lease that's been in effect for, I don't know, about 15 years now. We had an expiration of the original 10-year lease a couple years back, and I met with Alan and the staff, and they extended for 1 more year. And I don't know if this is a second 1-year extension or third, Alan. I apologize for whichever it may be, but it's all, of course, related to the bridge. And once the bridge work begins, we'll be on our way to another location or relocated in that particular area. But obviously that bridge work's not going to start this year. So we want to stay there.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tony? All right, seeing none, all in favor, indicate by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Mr. Tony.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Next item, review bids for kitchen improvements at Norwalk Museum and refer the following to the council for action. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Titan Enterprises, Inc. for the kitchen improvement project at the Norwalk Museum for a total not to exceed $47,800. Funds available from accounts noted. And then B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders in the contract for a total not to exceed $4,780. Do you have a motion? Mr. Hooverman. Thank you. Okay. David, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. So some of you may know we've had a multi-year project to make the museum, renovate the museum building and make it ADA compliant. We've completed new ramps on the exterior to get into the building. We recently finished an elevator project inside the building and, modified door openings and that sort of thing, bathroom. And now we've come to the kitchen. The kitchen we removed when we first moved into the building because it had some fairly dangerous electrical issues that just needed to be resolved. And the kitchen was very old and worn out. It was installed in 1973. We also had to reconfigure it to accommodate the installation of the museum elevator. And so as part of our overall master plan, we're at the point now, this phase is to actually reinstall the kitchen cabinets, appliances, countertops, that sort of thing. We went out to bid. We received actually 3 bids. You should have a bid summary in your package. There were 2 bids that were generally pretty close to each other. This bid and one a little bit higher, and then there was one that was like 134,000 or something. Didn't make any sense at all. We did scrutinize the references of Titan Enterprises, and they have done much of this kind of work before, so we're comfortable with moving ahead of them. That's pretty much about it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Westmoreland? Go ahead, Ms. Ayers.
Hello. My question is, with the completion of your renovation in the kitchen, is the hope to do a concession, catering? What is the future plans of the museum around the kitchen project?
So the main purpose of it is our employees will use it and volunteers will use it every day for events and things like that, for where we serve drinks and food and that sort of thing. But we also hope to, we're planning to rent out, very selectively rent out the museum for catered events for very specific things that we feel are appropriate and can be managed. And you really can't do that unless you provide some kind of kitchen. So we do see it as a revenue generator for the museum going in the city going forward.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, unanimous. Thank you, David.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. All right. Item C, I'm going to read all 4 items together and then we can discuss them. Review and approve the following actions relating to underground oil tank removal projects. 1, authorize the chairman of the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee acting as the Norwalk School Building Committee to certify the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of the final plans, project manuals, and cost estimate for the Wolf Pit Elementary School Oil Tank Replacement Project, State Project 103-0254 CBOT. Item 2, authorize the chairman of the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee acting as the Norwalk School Building Committee to certify the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of the final plans, project manual, and cost estimate for the Roten Middle School Oil Tank Replacement Project, State Project number 103-0256 CBOT. 3, authorize the chairman of the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee acting as the Norwalk School Building Committee to certify the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of the final plans, project manual, and cost estimate for the Fox Run Elementary School Oil Tank Replacement Project, State Project 103-0258 CBOT. And 4, authorize the chairman of the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee, acting as the Norwalk School Building Committee to certify the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of the final plans, project manual, and cost estimate from the Narrowmake Elementary School Oil Tank Replacement Project, State Project 103-0261 CBO2, CBOT. Do I have a motion on those items? Mr. Hoofman, thank you. All right, Bill, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are about to apply to the Office of School Construction and Grants for reimbursement for these 4 projects. We originally applied for it, and that's why we got the state project number, but the change that affected these 4 schools is a conversion from oil to gas. So these 4 schools are no longer going to burn oil for their heating operations. Gas is being installed by Eversource at no charge. We'll just pay for the consumption. So we originally specified that these below ground storage tanks would be replaced with above ground storage tanks. Since that has changed, we had to revise the plans, specifications, and the cost estimate. And that's what you have in front of you today. We are looking for approval of this so we can file the application and the SCG 042 to the Office of School Construction Grants later this month.
So what type of savings are we talking about since we don't have to put the new tanks in?
Actually, there is a savings. Our cost
No,
estimate.
I said, how much is it? I would assume.
Overall, there's probably $175,000 in savings by going from an above ground oil storage tank to retrofitting the boilers with a gas igniter.
Location, you mean?
Somebody
Is
said
that per
something.
location?
Look,
I'm sorry?
Is that per location?
No, overall, all 4 schools combined.
and to Ms. Lauricella's question, how many fuel tanks remain to be replaced?
Okay, the Board of Ed is currently involved with 8, of which 4 are in front of you right now. And then I think we have 3 more after this, so 11.
Right, so 11 yet to be done, or?
Yes, we haven't removed any of them yet. We're planning to start that this summer with 8 of them, 4 of which are here that will be gas conversion, and the remainder will either be removed altogether. Mind you, some of the gas conversions in some schools, such as Nathan Hale, took place many years ago, and they never removed the underground storage tank. We're doing that as part of this project at some of the schools as well. Kendall is another one.
Have we done any environmental inspection at this point?
Yes, we have test ports. Nothing has come up which would indicate a spill.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Ms. Ayers?
Outside of the school buildings, are there any other buried tanks on any
Yes.
other city properties?
Yes.
Do
One,
you know how many? One?
yes.
Where?
Okay.
Where, Alan?
Main library. We replaced
And,
that tank probably about 10 to 12 years ago. And it's fully monitored. We got a whole monitoring device on it because there's no land at the time. Back then it was Yankee Gas. They do not have any pressure gas line in the neighborhood that can support it. Now they do. But back then when we replaced the tank, there was no leak. We replaced the tank and we replaced it with an underground tank because again, it's in the parking lot. So there's really no space to put an above ground tank. It's fully monitored. There's a monitoring devices in there to maintain cathodic protection, so deterioration of piping and all that stuff is all implemented. So it's about, I would say about 10 to 12 years ago. That's the only one left. We did, I can tell you that we did many tanks through the years. I can go on. I mean, we did underground tank, the contamination, the public works garage, the fire station in South North on the Meadow Street. And we recently actually removed one at Maritime Aquarium when we did the expansion project. And Oak Hills Park, when we did the golf course for 3-4 years ago, we actually did and removed 2 tanks underground, and there was contamination in both of them. And on and on. I mean, in the Roosevelt Center, we underground tank, Ben Franklin Center, we removed tanks. even for the farm, we remove one of the residential house, we remove the tank. So the tank removal is part of our, for the last 15, 20 years, part of our level better business in terms of getting rid of the ground. And we do hit contamination, we address them, we remediate it. And again, there's only one tank that's underground. It's reasonably new.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, Mr. Hillman.
Alan, did you say that Eversource now, because it's not Yankee anymore, that they've got gas up in that area now? Where the
Which
main
area?
library-
Main library, yes.
Yeah.
We went to back then Yankee Gas twice at least to ask them whether, because we were surprised that they don't have any gas line in the area. It's an urban area. Twice they told us they don't have a line big enough to support a new building, because at the time we were actually replacing one of the boilers. So that's a perfect time for them to convert before we did the oil tank removal, because put underground tank is expensive. So we were trying to find ways to do it, but then again, they couldn't provide to us. We didn't have an option. That's why we put it back in the ground. But again, we use fully monitored.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anybody other questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor, keep on raising your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll have the SCG 042 available for your signature when you have time.
Can't wait. All right, thanks.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just want to add one other note. And we always talk about, land use, and a committee of common council do not have any powers in terms of approving things and signing things. This is one of the very unusual situations, because the city, by the request of the state and under city ordinance, we authorize the land use and building management as the state recognized school building committee. And the state required the chairman of the land use, chairman of the school building committee to execute these agreements. Therefore, by approving it, Councilman Livingston will be able to sign these agreements. Again, we typically, the committee doesn't have any power, but the power is actually given to this committee by the council, but through the city ordinance as the standing school building committee. So this will not go to common council unless you wanted to, but typically this doesn't, because the authorization has been approved by allowing because that's the body is recognized. So the mayor doesn't sign this. It's really the chairman of the land use and building management committee.
And we did bring the tanks to the council before for the
for different reasons. Yeah. Because this is a very specific thing the state required the chairman to sign, not the mayor.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Update on school construction. Jim, take it, that's you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just lost everybody when I shared my screen. I'm sorry. So the Jefferson School is moving forward. Most of the exterior work has been completed, and we're concentrating our efforts now on the interior. As you can see in the picture here, we have walls, ceilings framed out. A lot of the mechanical and electrical work has been completed, and we're moving into the finishes stages of the project, as well as doing finish site work now that the weather is starting to get warmer. We are on our original schedule for Jefferson. We're looking to complete that project by mid-June and have students in there for September. Cranberry Elementary, we received approval from the state to go out to bid. We are currently out to bid. We've advertised. We anticipate getting our guaranteed maximum price from the construction manager by April, and hopefully approved at the April land use meeting, and construction will start in early May. And we are on schedule with Cranberry. Naramick, all the work has been completed except for some electrical panel work, which we are still waiting on materials from the manufacturer. The kitchen is sitting there waiting to be used, unfortunately, until we get this equipment from the manufacturer. We've been in constant communication with the contractor. We are anticipating, and we've received confirmation from the manufacturer. However, I will say that we've also received confirmation from the manufacturer previously, and he has not lived up to those delivery dates, but we did get some revised delivery dates for the week of March 7th, in which it'll take about a week to do the work once we get the material, and then the kitchen area will be operational. Alan, I don't know if you want to make a note on the situation with the manufacturer in regards to other projects.
Dave has a comment.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on that. One is that costing us any money?
No.
Okay. Two is, where are we at with the old kitchen? Has that, the taking out of that equipment? I know,
Yes.
Alan, you mentioned that you did the remediation. Is that project finished now?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to add something here. Manufacture delay, it's very hard for us as the property owner and the project manager to go after manufacturer. They are like a 3-step remote from us. And their claim, I don't necessarily agree with them, but you can never get to the what the situation, why we're not getting. We approved the equipment, the electrical equipment back in August of last year. Their claim about supply chain issues and stuff like that, they can say what they want, but at the same time is that there's no financial liability from a manufacturer. And also the louder we complain, we threaten them more. We try to work with them to get answers, but if we still need the equipment, primary objective. So I mean, it depends on how far we pursue them. We just want to get the equipment as soon as we can. But one of the things we've done.
I guess the question that I have then is not using the kitchen, this new kitchen that's supposed to be from, to be able to do scratch meals, is that costing us money in any way?
No, it's not costing us money. The food service provider from Board Bed is managing through. It's not costing us money. But okay. I have taken the step to eliminate this manufacturer from other projects. That's the only way I can, to make our point, because we still need this equipment. So I will deal with the cost issue with this manufacturer and stuff. But at the same time, it's the only way we can make our stand known to them. It's not include them as a approved vendor for Cranberry School right now.
Greg, do you have a comment, question?
Yes, I did have a question related to Jefferson and Narragansett in terms of where do we stand budget-wise with these two projects?
With Narragansett, we're right on budget, maybe slightly under. With Jefferson, we are tracking under budget right now, and we anticipate to be under budget.
Okay, any other questions on those schools? Are you going to do the Norwalk High School? Or are we going to do this later, right, with the review of the.
We can do this. We can do this later. I think everybody kind of knows what the update is. In South Norwalk, we're moving. We're still moving forward with due diligence on potential property. The state has reviewed the property. The grant application is in good shape. We will be coming to land use in April for approval of resolutions, which is required for the grant application to be submitted to the state. But all other information, ed specs and funding has been approved, and it's just a collection of that information and get it up to the state.
Jim, you can adjust the number. It's actually $72 million.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. we'll talk about Norwalk High School when we get to that item. So let's keep moving then. Item E, review proposal to modify existing municipal area network for the new Cranberry School and refer the following to the council for action. Authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Digital Back Office DBO Advanced Corporate Networking to provide municipal area network fiber installation services for the new Cranberry Elementary School project for a total not to exceed $35,000. Account noted. Do I have a motion? Anyone? Mr. Hulaman again? Okay. Alan?
Yeah, as part of the Cranberry School project, the city has a municipal area network that connect all the buildings together, which provide us with internet service. So, and the city currently has a 10-year contract with Digital Back Office to manage the system for us, and also any improvement we had to go through them. So for this work, we had to a couple of things we had to do. We had to right now the building is connected to the system, so we got to disconnect it, temporarily connect it to the building because the connections we have to go. The way it's coming in now, we have to actually disconnect it, put underground conduit, and run the fiber through, and then after we build the building, we can get rid of it and reroute it to the new building. So the work that we need them to do is $35,000. So we have tried to negotiate with them a little bit, but I think we got down a couple of $1,000. That's all we were able to do. So we took an effort to manage the cost, but it is what it is in front of us. So we think that number works for us, and it's part of our budget expenses.
David?
Is this an additional cost, or is this with part of the budgeted cost for New Cranberry?
It's overall project budget of $45 million.
Okay, and this cost for this is part of that 45. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. Item F, review additional services required from Horizon Engineering for Ponus School Improvement Project and refer the following to the council for action. Authorize to increase the contingency allowance for additional services for Horizon Engineering Associates LLP for commissioning services for the Ponus Ridge School project for an additional amount not to exceed $3,220. Account noted. Have a motion? Wow, popular. Mr. Keegan, thank you.
I'm gonna start. I think if I'm missing something, Jim will fill it in. We finished the Ponus School project. We have a building commissioning agent that's involved. Commissioning agent usually it's the one that work all the kinks in the system. When the contractor put it in and the designer designs a certain way, they look at it and make sure they function properly. So we did all that stuff after the project is finished. And then when we go for last winter, we find out that there's stuff that doesn't work as well. It's not really a design error thing. It's just like fine tricking the system so that the temperature balance properly. And sometimes you put a sensor in one location, it's picking up the temperature a little different from on another spot. So we have to adjust things. So we got the commissioning agent came back and did a whole bunch of evaluation with the design team and the contractor. They made some adjustments and things like that. And that cost was never a part of the services. When we approved the contract with the commission agent back then, we have a $7,000 plus for contingency. We never used any of it. After we finish this process, it's $10,000. So we want to use that contingency, plus we short about $3,000. So that's what we're asking for, increase in the contingency. Jim, if you have anything else to add.
No, Alan, you described it very well. The only thing I would add is that Horizon Engineering did a fantastic job in helping us through some of the issues that we had working through those problems. They were there at every meeting and did a lot of stuff on their own in the background to try and help us through this issue, and they did a really, really good job working with us and the engineering firm and the architect and Bill Hodell and his team.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous again. Okay, moving on. Item G relates to the approval of the design options for the new Norwalk High School. Now, this was put on the agenda when originally, because the Board of Education Facilities Committee was going to review it and make a recommendation to the full board. They have elected to defer consideration until, Alan, when?
2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah, so it seems appropriate that we do not take action at this point. So I'd like to move that this item be tabled to the next meeting, Alan.
Yeah. I need to get back. I'm sorry, I don't mean this way.
Well, we'll table this to the next time we meet.
Next meeting, yeah. There's
Next
a possibility I may request a special meeting, a land use and building management committee. For various reasons. I mean, one of it is a timing factor. We are carrying about 5%, typically on all construction projects, we carry 3% annual increase per year. 3%, it's a typical number of inflations and construction cost increase. Current economy and construction, we're carrying about 5% for this project. It's a substantial cost in terms of time. So I'm not trying to pressure the council or the Board of Ed to do anything, but at the same time I want to be sensible of financial responsibility in terms of understanding what the time cost of money, whatever the term is. So to the extent that if Board of Ed makes a recommendation, I would like to get to the council as soon as I can. So I just want the committee member understands that I can go into more detail another time, but at the same time is that again, I'm not trying to pressure the public or the council. It's just if the board approves something, I would like to get to the council as soon as we can for the council's consideration and for approval of the design options.
Okay, so unless there's any objection, we'll just table this item to the next meeting, but we'll still go forward. I assume there's no objection to that? Okay, so we will move now to an update on the school project, and go ahead, Alan, tell us where we are.
Yeah, recently, as you know, we met jointly with the facility committee of Board of Education. I think that's the first time we presented this project to both Common Council and the Board of Education. We are at the crossroad in terms of which way to move forward. We had look at, if you look at the property, it's pretty straightforward. We have a softball field, the building itself, existing building, the Norwalk High School. We have a parking lot that we go in and out, and the football field. They are limited option in terms of where you put the building, right? So it's not like there's 30 more acres than we can put anywhere we want. It's really limited to the configuration of land that we have. Again, we got softball field, the building, the parking lot, and the football field. Within those kind of space, the existing space that we have looked at many options, and when we look at putting the building, taking the phase construct, which is option A, which is build a new portion of the building, tear down an existing portion, build another portion. We have looked at many different ways to scale the building, respectful of the neighborhood and neighbors and stuff like that. Where do you want to put this? We do have a 4-story building, where we place it, how the angle of the building, and creating space within that. We actually look at all that stuff. So for even an option A, there's probably no exaggeration. It's probably like 7 to 8 design that we looked at before we come up with the current option A. Option B, we did the same thing. We're using the football field, but at the same time is that there's probably like 8 or 10 options to look at how we place the building, whether it's multiple, how you break down the building and try to get the lower, the gym and the auditorium closer to King Street, because that's only a 1.5-story building, versus like the education side could be a potential 3-story building. So we try to place the lowest portion of the space that we require closer to the street, so that they're keeping a higher portion of the building inside the property. So we look at all that stuff, but at the same time, it's after our meeting last time, we held a number of meetings. We held 2 meetings, one with the SGC from high school, another one for the middle school. We also had at least 2 meetings with the athletic director from Norwalk High School, as well as from Brian McMahon High School, also with Recreation Parks Department, Robert Stoller, and also Ken Hughes from the Parks Department, regarding athletic programs and what the strategies are to how we can find alternate location for various things. We actually look at, where to put the tennis program. We look at, football. Football, generally speaking, the only option we have is move them to Brian McMahon for those. I think home games about 5 or 6 home games a year. So we moved it there. Practice is still going to be at Nathan Hale, and on and on. And I think part of the solution is we're looking at West Rock, since we have 2 artificial turf field that we put in. So we try to make that as the home field for some of the outdoor sport. I don't know which one yet, but we will refine those discussion within next week or so to see what program we move it there. So we will put signage up so that it looks like a home facility. And we also met with Board of Ed Transportation, because one of the things that the school really wants to make sure is that we don't use the regular school bus to bring kids around, because the problem is that when the school drop the kids off, they got delayed, and then it affects the practice time and everything else. So the Board of Ed Transportation had initiated a conversation with a different busing company to provide those services, so that we can guarantee that there's a bus there waiting just for that purpose, instead of waiting for the regular school bus to come around and then pick them up. So all of the things we're looking at, the cost of the busing would be kids to the off-site location would be part of the construction project. So it doesn't hit the Board of Ed operating budget. And I think we're looking at the athletic side. We're looking at all those concerns, and yes, we will be off-site, but we were trying to consolidate to an area that's consistent and design it so that to the extent we can make it as home as possible. The one difficult one is actually track. So we are looking at different options, and Brian McMahon it's a potential location. There's some difficulty that we have to work out with both coaches, athletic directors, and we also look for the track. We also look potentially at Ponus, and we also trying to approach. We haven't reached out to them. We're trying to reach out to them, but we haven't made connection yet. It's actually with All Saints to see whether we can work with them to see that they will help us to accommodate track on their track, so that West Rock and All Saints will almost a little complex, a sports complex combined together. And also because West Rock is close to Norwalk High, so it's a little bit more like a shuttle service that go back and forth. So some kids miss the bus, the next one, they go and come back, and you can pick them up and returning them and stuff. So so in terms of sports, we're moving along. Again, there's no commitment made between the project team and the athletic director. We are still in conversation, and we are very open about looking at options of how we can do what we can to accommodate, assuming that we take option B, we accommodate the athletic program needs. So no program will be canceled, and everything will be ongoing. And it's just that, some of the programs offsite already. Baseball, like right now, there's no baseball field. Baseball is played at Nathan Hale right now. So I think we are having very good conversation, and we will try to develop this plan, a proposed plan. Again, there's also a lot of refinement needs to be made. But we will put something together. We have been putting stuff together, and we'll continue to kind of solidify them as much as we can, so we can provide the council and above it for more detailed information. Regarding the pool, I think there's a lot of concern about the 2 options. I guess when we develop this option, pool is always part of the plan. But the comment we always use, because because originally we submitted a budget to the state for $225 million. The approval is 189. We simply took the cost of the pool out and temporarily or whatever, but we always include it as part of the design, so that we have every intention and continue to figure a way to fund it. So there's a commitment on our parts to build a pool. So I know there's a lot of public concern about this pool is not happening. We will find the money to do it. So I think the administration is we're putting something together to be more specific, but it is part of the design, it's part of our plans. Okay. Lastly, it's not lastly, but the one other concern that's been raised really with King Street neighbors. we are reaching out to them. I mean, we've been receiving emails from the neighbors, and we haven't responded. We just, I guess they may have gotten some response for Councilman Livingston and the mayor that we received it. We haven't responded to them yet, but we are looking to, and I think like Tyler said before, we're reaching out to him, and we're hoping that he will reach out to some of the neighbors. We intend to meet with them early next week on site to go over some of their concerns, and then follow another meeting right after that to look at some of the plans that we have. Since they brought the concern about King Street, we had looked at least 7 options in how we can avoid using King Street as a ingress or egress or exit point for the school. There's a number of things we need to deal with internally within the property. We need to address the concern of buses internally and how it crosses with parent drop off and things like that. So there are safety concerns within the property that we need to look at. Again, we have probably, again, no exaggeration, but 7 and probably 8. We have actually 8, the 8th one that we're looking at right now. So we're looking at all that stuff. We are looking to meet with our traffic consultant to talk about it. It's not a traffic study. It's a traffic study you should do it and when we have an option that we develop and do all the traffic counts, signals, and everything else. At this point, we want to talk to them. I mean, we have some general understand what works and what doesn't work, but we want to get their input on some of these options. Because generally speaking, I think we understand which option works because the safety concern of internally as well as externally about each one of these options. So we are developing. We probably have 6 or again we have 8 options that we're looking at. We try to narrow it down a little bit, and then we at the same time we're going to talk to the traffic consultants to get their input on each one of these options. So those are the primary ones that we are focusing on. And I don't know, Jim, anything to add?
No, Alan, that pretty much wraps everything up. That's what we've been dealing with on this project recently. So yeah, it's good that we're going to be reaching out to the neighbors. Hopefully we get something set up for Tuesday and kind of explain a little bit more in detail as to what the plans are and what we're looking at. Obviously, we're still in just very concept to schematic design phase for this. So a lot of stuff still has to be worked out depending on the option that is selected.
Questions or comments? Mr. McMurray, I'm sorry, you went first.
I would love to defer to Councilmember Nicole Ayers since she is actually on the committee and I can go after anybody else.
You both went the exact same time and I saw yours first. Sorry.
I know, I appreciate it. And I defer to Councilmember Nicole Ayers.
Thank you, Councilmember McMurray. I have several questions, but I'll try to keep them as concise as possible. One of my first questions or concerns is when we're looking at option B, I've seen some schools do some creative things with landscaping in order to not have an impact for neighbors. You said that you have looked at several different options. Is landscaping a part of any of those options to try to mediate people having to wake up and look at a brick building?
My immediate response is that back in 2000, I was the one that built the football field there back then. And we were concerned about the football field and how it kind of respond to the neighbors. Well, we actually built a berm out there. If you drive on King Street, you can see that portion of the property is actually a little higher because we built a berm, and the trees you see out there, actually I planted them back in 2000. So we have every intention to keep all the evergreens along the edge to maintain that screening so that we provide maximum landscaping screening for the neighborhood. So that is part, in fact, we talked about it again today, Jim.
Yeah, this morning.
Yeah, so that it's, it takes a number of years to grow a tree. we have no intention of cutting anything down. I think having mature trees there now that we planted 15 or 20. Oh wow, it's 20 years ago. It's
I understand that, and I am familiar with the property.
okay.
But I think that it would not hurt to add some more landscaping. I'm not saying take anything away, but to add some more landscaping as a screen or cover, whatever word you're going to use, to kind of soften the impact of a building being in somebody's face. My next question is really about, it's more of a PR question. I know, Alan, you are working very diligently in several different aspects of this project. And I know you've had meetings with parents and different groups talking about concerns. But where, maybe it's happening already, where, if not where, when, will it be publicized, like what you're working on with the fields and the athletics? Where are these things publicized so people have a point of reference? Because we're hearing a lot of stuff and it's hard to direct people to information if we don't know where this information is being housed.
I'll make two comments. The first one is that, you know, we get criticized for staff-wise, you know, not engaging the community and things like that. There's no secrets here, right? I mean, we are doing this for the school populations, and throughout the last 9 months working on this, all the different division of when we do the programming phase, we reach out all educate the teachers, administration to develop the program. So there's active conversation with the school administration. If you asked me 4 months ago, right, why didn't we talk to somebody 4 months ago? The answer is that I don't have enough information to discuss. 4 months ago, we did work for about 6 months to get to like October last year. We began in November on this phase improvement project. We are struggling to figure out how to phase this project to implement a project. How do we build a 4-story building? What to take down? What to do with elevator? How do you provide access? How do you do the security? How blah blah blah, on and on. So by November came, we are actually at the schematic phase, which is really the beginning of the project. The first really like design idea. And then we realized the cost of it and complexity of the project creates a lot of problem. From then on, we went on this idea about, we had this thought before, but we focused on option B. So if you talk to somebody 4 months ago or 5 months ago, whatever, if somebody asked you, well, have you looked at a football field? We wouldn't be able to answer those questions because we weren't ready, right? So it takes us time to get to that point. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to that point already. At the same time, is that's not even enough information to talk to. In fact, the council didn't even know about it, in the sense that we're not ready to talk about it. And also, by the time we did the option B, we developed to the point that we can talk about it intelligently to give you all the information. And we present and that's when we present to the council and the board at that point. So we weren't about to present to the public, and then you hear it on the social media or something that, oh yeah, we got a project, this is all the issues. So we want to present to the common council and the board first, and then continue to collect input from the community.
I understand. Sorry, Tom, but I understand what you're saying, and thank you for that information. But that was not my question.
Okay.
Maybe I was not clear in my question, and I do apologize.
No, it's correct.
My question really is going forward. I can't help what happened 4 years prior. Going forward, where is this information being housed so people can be able to access it, and be able to chime in? I'm sure you guys did your due diligence. I really want to know going forward, so that we don't have to hold up the project. Where is this information being housed? That was the question.
Yeah. So Alan, just to follow up on that, I mean, can we put plans on a website? Can we put them in City Hall that people can see?
We had talked about this on different projects. I'm not the medium we would put the presentation, whether they do and drawings and stuff, on the Norwalk High School website, so that people can see it and update. We can continue to update it throughout the construction phase. Oh, I'm sorry, not the construction, the design phases, so people can access that. I think we need to get to the. We do, generally speaking, we don't have direct contact with neighbors of specific ones, really. So they need to. I mean, like this meeting, some neighbors attend this meeting, so a little bit of word of mouth kind of thing. And even legally, when we notify the neighbors, it's only adjacent property owner. That's what we are legally required to do. So I think that the medium to get information out to the general public more than the school is that we will put it on a school or the Norwalk High School or the school website, so that people can access the information, see what the latest ideas are and things. The other choice is just reach out to me and Jim, the project team, to a very specific thing. And many times in the past, when somebody comes in, when City Hall is open back then, the more public comes a bit, people call us up, we will sit down with them and go through the drawing and designs and listen to them.
I don't want to put words in Miss Ayers' mouth, but I think it'd be really helpful to have this stuff for everybody to see on the website, or again, in the City Hall. If you walk down, what was across, we used to be planning and zoning. They have like the renderings of the sides of some of these buildings. That might be helpful to have people see those, put them around. I mean, just a thought. I mean, just to get them out so there's a place that people can look. So you don't need to be burned either, Alan, every time. Anyway, Nikki, you had other questions too.
Thank you. My other questions were really around the pool. And I know I've heard you say that it's a work in progress, and that it's always been a part of the plan. Are you having separate, I think you said you're having separate discussions around getting the pool up and running, or what is the real true status of the pool? We understand that you want the pool, but how are we working towards getting the pool?
I can cut in a little bit, Alan. So, we've been talking with the mayor's office about possible funding sources. He did mention, I think last week, about maybe possible external business contributions, perhaps. But he and the department are working with everybody to try and get to a point that we can definitively say we're going to do this. It's just still working on the funding sources, but it's clearly everybody is committed to this. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to say yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I just think that if that's something that we've all been hearing over and over and over again, it would be helpful if we could kind of put some steam under that and kind of move it a little bit, just because of the enormous conversations around the necessity for the pool. Not critiquing anyone's work, not saying someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but just the outcry of that particular part of the construction. If we could kind of move it along a little bit, I think that would give some people some type of peace of mind.
I understand 100% what you're saying, and we're trying to get in a position to do something more definitive. Okay. Anything else before Ms. McMurray? Jen?
Thank you so much, Chair Livingston. Thanks for letting me even speak at the committee since I'm not one of the members. Alan, you spoke about the traffic consultant that you're going to be working with. Do you know the timing of when that will happen and when we'll have any answers from them about King Street specifically?
It could be early as tomorrow or Friday. Latest probably early next week. And we are going to.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Right.
I know that a lot of.
I just want to make something clear, and it's not changing my mind or anything. I think I just want, the word traffic study, a traffic report came up. Traffic report is a fully developed document with traffic count intersections and things. So what we're looking to do right now is that we are engaging the traffic consultant to analyze the options we have. And the traffic, and then analyzing the potential impact and just an evaluation at this point. And then once we get these options developed further, then we take it the next step and do a traffic report. So it's a two-step process. So when somebody's talking about, well, we don't have a traffic report yet, we don't do traffic report till we have some definitive like strategy. But by the time we get to that strategy, we had gone through some more detailed evaluation and pros and cons of all the options. And then we take the last step of doing a traffic report. But we are engaging them to do all these as part of the development of these options. We are talking to them to get some initial response back for them, so that we are positioned to analyze these options. Because I think one thing I know I'm saying more than you're asking for, but when we look at this stuff, it's more than the traffic at the intersection. We recognize that, you know what, we put a driveway here. It's more than that driveway and impact. It's actually impact on the intersection down the street, right? So sometimes you may need to add a traffic light on down the street kind of thing. We recognize that also when a bus come out, making a left turn movement is more difficult than a right turn movement. We got to look at sight lines. We got to look at traffic flow on those streets. And when we look at the entire property, we have 3 streets that abut the property. We have County Street, Strawberry Hill, and King Street. So we have to look at all those 3 streets and see the impact of all 3 intersections. At the same time, we got to look at internally how the circulation happens inside the property, and the buses and student safety within the property is also important too. So we are taking all those in consideration when we look at all these options in front of us. So it's not that we are doing a lot of stuff behind the scene in terms of analyzing all these variables, and we are engaging traffic consultant to help us to look at these. But generally speaking, we do have a lot of knowledge in how things work and doesn't work. And when we look at these options, we may have 10 options, 12 options, we get to 7 options, we get to 4 options. We continue to go down the road to get to this point, some point. So again, we are for the traffic, to minimize or to eliminate any access from King Street. We are looking at 7 to 8 options right now. So.
And I appreciate that so much. I do know that so much goes into this, and it's way above my pay grade for sure. And I really do appreciate and respect all the work that goes into this. Following up on what you just mentioned, and you had stated earlier that there are about 8 other options you're looking into around, King Street and how the buses are sort of operating and going into the actual development. How many of those will be presented to the public, and do you have a time frame of when those will be presented as well?
I think this is what I want to do. We are looking to meet with the neighbors early next week. And we are at the same time, we are engaging our traffic consultants, as well as we're looking at the 8 options that we have. I think we want to narrow it down a little bit first. And all of them will probably with no vehicle access except emergency vehicle. I think the problem is that when we put a building there, fire department require access around the building in case of emergency. When you have a drive that goes around the building, it's because it's such a big building. It's good to have an access in case there's an emergency vehicle stop there. A second one comes through, can get out, another one can come in. So we're looking for maintaining a driveway opening, but with a gate on it, lockable, so that we don't use it and only accept emergency when the fire department come in and cut the lock kind of thing. So I think at this point, that's what we're looking at. So these options talks about not having access to King Street. Jim, to say any of them talks about just exit only or not at all? I don't remember.
I can't remember. I thought we were getting away from any access
at all except emergency, right?
Exactly.
That's wonderful. I have just one more question, I promise.
Oh, one more. Okay.
Just one more, sorry. So it looks like, and I don't know if I'm looking at the most up-to-date proposal or drawings, but it looks like there is a small parking lot abutting King Street where those trees that you planted, which are, old and tall now, which is wonderful. it looks like there's a small parking lot there. I believe it's a staff parking lot. Is that still being considered to put there? Or is there any opportunity to sort of move that or add it to an additional parking lot somewhere else on the property so we could actually add more of that landscaping Councilmember Ayers was referring to?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about today.
Yeah.
You have to recognize, see, I think we are looking to do exactly what you just said. I didn't bring it up because we are looking at it. I'm sorry. So I just want to, we are looking at, we got to find space on the property. I think that's one of the biggest problems. You look at our plans that we have developed, the parking lot is huge. But at the same time, the total number of parking spaces we're going to have under this option B, I think we are like 470 somewhat spaces. We are about the same number of parking spaces that we have on site right now. So we're not increasing it. It's just existing parking. It's actually distributed in like different lots. There's a little dumbbell when you go up to the main parking lot. There's a little goes to the tail end. There's a little loop around thing that where the proposed softball field is going to be. There's some parking there. There's when you come in, there's parking on the right hand side. But on the proposed plan, they all consolidated in one area. So you look at a huge parking lot. But in terms of number of parking spaces, we're not increasing it at all, right? So we have to find area to put all the parking spaces. So we are identifying an area. There's not that much land left. The only area we think about is that we have a little drop-off area that turn around for the buses that we're looking at. If we do a different pattern, we can capture the space for some parking in order to, so potentially we can eliminate those parking spaces that you're talking about along King Street so that we can give it a little more buffer instead of the parking spaces. Yes, we are looking at that.
I appreciate all of your work and thank you so much for your answers. If you need help in gathering any of the neighbors, please let me know.
Me and you can go down the street and ring the doorbell.
I'm happy to do that. I am a strong door knocker. Thank you.
David, go ahead.
Hey, Alan, just a quick question. Have you guys met also with the Narragansett SGC? And is Narragansett involved in these conversations?
I don't know how to answer that. We set up a meeting with SGG for the high school, and the second meeting with SGG of the middle school. But I remember Sandra from Board of Ed mentioned that since they're inviting all of them, since the 5th or 6th grade in elementary school will be going to high school at that point, I think they were invited.
Yeah,
So,
I think they were, Alan.
Okay.
If I'm not
believe they
mistaken.
were. So again, I don't want to misspoken, so I don't want that you come back to me and tell me that I didn't tell you the truth. But yeah, I was pretty sure they invited, but I didn't see the invitation because the invitation doesn't come from me, it's come from the Board of Education. So I believe they are.
Elementary schools, Alan, just the elementary schools were invited and they did participate in your second meeting.
Okay.
Elementary school, that's great.
I just want to say one other thing is that it's very hard in my position in terms of like getting input. I think that for the school community, the high school community, a lot of the kids are graduating right at some point. So getting input from the parent, the interest level may be a little different. And the middle school coming in, kids' parents probably doesn't want any interruption and don't want to send the kids there while there's construction going on. So I think when we look at this project, we got to look at it like we as in the Board of Education and the city got to look at it a little differently to see what's the best interest for the community overall kind of thing. Because again, there was a great deal of support to renovate the building or build a new school, but at the same time we get to this issue, it gets complicated.
Thanks. And, thanks for what you guys are doing. You got a lot of balls in the air right now and you're spinning plates at the same time. And I appreciate that. So thank you. But they are a neighbor as well. And I think that it would, to make sure that they're a part of that conversation, because the placement of that building in the B scenario does impact the Narragansett as well. So
yeah, we're trying very hard not to encroach on, generally speaking, their boundary line right now. In fact, a little softball field, it's not really a softball field because it's not full width. And I think the high school JV practice there because they just practice infield practice. We're trying to maintain that line very carefully. to respect their space, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And appreciate what you guys are doing.
Other questions, comments? Okay, seeing, Greg, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, my question is around process. I guess, you know, you mentioned that it's going before the full Board of Education in, I think you said 3 weeks or so.
2
2
weeks.
weeks, okay. In terms of process, I mean, after it goes to the Board of Education, if they decide on one of the options, but this committee still has some concerns about that option, that what happens then? What is the process flow?
Alan, well, I guess, Alan, I don't know if you can take this. I think if people have concerns, it's, you know, to the extent you have concerns now, we don't want to raise them tonight. We can ask Alan questions.
yeah, I think that's the reason why we try to get land use and facility land use building management committee and the Board of Ed facility committee to together and sit and listen to the same presentation and conversation, so that the information is very consistent. And there are emails that are coming to the mayor, the superintendent, the Board of Education, and I regarding some of the concerns that the community has. You may not see it. Some of them actually went to Tom, but some of them don't. So we are trying to develop a way to consolidate all these emails so that we can, so that somebody's write an email to one of us, at least as a central point of collecting them, and so that they know that the comments received at least, and whether the responses. Some people are just making a statement, so there's really no respond to it, you know. But there are ones that are like Tyler's. It's like they raise different concerns, and we have a responsibility to respond to them. But at some point is that we need to consolidate all those, because a lot of these answers are the same. The comments are the same. The pool, you know, we need the pool. So we are trying to develop an overall response to all those questions and collectively, instead of respond to each one of them. So we are trying to consolidate all those emails together so that you can sort them through to see how many, you know, a lot of them are very similar, right? So they want to make sure there's a pool. So we're going to collectively the city is going to make a statement about we are building the pool. We are working out all the financial aspect of it, figure out how we can get the balance of the money to make this work. I forgot your original question. Oh, great.
Yeah, well, thank you for that information. My original
thanks for nothing, right?
Yeah. My original question was around process again. After the Board of Ed in 2 weeks,
okay,
assumingly selects one of the options. However, that then will become before this committee. If we have concerns about that option, how is it addressed? And, you know, knowing that there is somewhat of a timeline that we're working towards, you know, how much, I'll use the word wiggle room, do we have to move this along?
I think to the extent member of the Common Council can when the board meets to join their meeting as a public member and listen to some of the conversation. I think that's important because I think it's understanding how the decision is being made. We do not want to, as staff-wise, I mean, I can speak openly about this. I mean, I think the city and board need to look at this together. It's not like one does one thing, the other one does what, then the staff is going to be in trouble. Because, you know, so at the same time, I think it's a collaborative decision, but at the same time, it's two different bodies. I think there needs to be communication between the two so that whatever one decides is also consistent with what the other one is doing. I think it's.
Alan, I think possibly what Greg is asking is if we at the next, whenever we just consider this, we don't have enough information or we feel there are issues that come up that need to be responded to. is there time, Greg, I want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like, is there going to be time to have another meeting perhaps to go over that if we have to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that, after the board meeting, if we could have a special meeting and then go to common council, or we go to other thing choice, then we go to land use committee in April, and then go to full council after that.
But if
We are
need
going
be,
to
if there need be, we could fit another meeting in there, another special meeting perhaps, if we had to.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to have to do that, but if we needed to, we could do that. I guess that's a question. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Keegan?
Still on mute. Oh, there it goes.
I'm not going to be on mute. I'm learning my lesson. A while, but I'm learning. I think one of the questions that I've always had, and I think it's a question that we haven't really answered yet. We hear about pockets of costs. We hear 191 million. We hear 193 million. Then we hear 10 million for a pool. And then we hear 20% up to 189. And so my question is, all in, how much will this project cost?
You want me to answer that?
Can I answer that or not?
Yeah, I do want to answer it.
Okay.
$225 million.
You expect it to cost $225 million. Okay.
Yes.
So how much of that will the city of Norwalk be responsible for?
We had that number. I'm not here to prove right or wrong kind of thing. Back when this concept developed, we had done a very initial cost estimate for this project. We're already designing back then, right? We were doing a calculation. We came at the number $225 million. And from that number, we calculated that there is, the state reimbursement was 80%, but certain things only 40%, like athletic facilities and things like that. And so we budgeted, and the city approved little more than $50 million. That's $50 million. So that's what? $225 million. It's like 40%, right? Is that what it is? Whatever that is, right? So that's 20%. 20% 2 times. So yeah, that's roughly. It's actually $45 million. It's 20%. So we budget a little more than 20%, anticipating that some of it is only a 40% reimbursement. So in terms of the $50 million we allocated for this project, generally speaking, it covers our budget of $225 million. So when the state only approved $189 million, right away we're short $35 million, roughly $35 million, right? So we have to figure a way to adjust our number to make it work, kind of thing. And that's why, we were originally going to keep the science wing because the science wing is pretty new. 2006 we built it, so we're going to do a renovation there to save the square footage of building a new building. We also look at some cost saving things, so we reduce it somewhat, and then we also look at the pool, and that's why we kept it aside, so that we know we're always going to look for a way to pay for it. But from looking at it in terms of project wide, the term we use alternate item, but at the same time, I think that's kind of raised a lot of questions as if we're not going to do it because it's alternate. But it is a construction and design terms in terms of we design something that's current is not in the budget, but we have every intention to build it and to find money for it. So so back to your question. I remember your question. It's like the numbers game, right? I didn't want to sound like I'm doing this here. So it's $225 million. The state reimburses 80%, and certain things 40%. And our latest estimate, there's two numbers. These are hard construction costs, excluding soft costs. Okay, so it's $191 million for option A, $193 million for option B. So option B is actually a little more money, but one thing that we don't talk about a lot is the phase construction project impact on school operation and program is significant, right? And I know some folks that mentioned about health, environmental concern. environmental concern is something that we are fully aware of and fully have full responsibility, and legally and regulatory wise, we have full responsibility to make sure that any environmental hazards, asbestos or PCB or anything that we potentially find in building, everything is checked and managed and protected and meeting all state and federal regulations. So it's a lot of money to deal with, but at the same time, we are fully aware of it. The difficulty part is really it's vibration when we do demolition, because schools still want vibration, sound, dust. And dust we can manage somewhat because we can always water down the site and keep the dust down, kind of thing. But vibration and sound is two items that's very, very hard to control. So, and also when we talk about, again, phase construction, it does has many, I wouldn't want to use impact. Some of it is impact. Some of it is just like, it affects the operation of a school. We talk about, we're gonna have in order to do the space construction, we will have like 3 different mechanical systems, one for 2 new buildings, and then the existing building mechanical system is still there. So at some point we got to eliminate that, but yeah, there's a fire alarm system, security alarm system. How do they all tie together? How do you do a lockdown stuff? Do we have answers to all those? No, we don't have it all right now. But the phase construction create all those issues that is very, very difficult to manage. So I think that for staff-wise, I mean, you know what, it's that's why, again, I always said this. I know I said it repeatedly. It sounds like I'm kind of beating the same. It's just we are here to provide you information, and with the option A, it's a very, very burdensome for the city and for the school operations. So that's why even for additional money for $3 million, whatever it is, for option B, we still prefer that option because we are better positioned to control change orders and financial risks.
Alan, could you explain for people what soft costs are? Because you talked about hard cost construction, but so people understand the difference.
Soft costs includes builder's risk insurance, architectural fees, design fees, environmental consultant fees, and on and on. It's all the things that construction really do is brick and mortar, and the contractors' profit margins and contingencies and stuff. But the owner contingency, it's actually on the soft costs. CM contingency is on the GMP, which is hard costs. So for this project, we will carry 5%. 5% of $200 million is like $10 million worth of contingency. That's what we're budgeting. But when you do a phase construction, that number may go higher because the risk of finding all these things the problem things that comes up. But on a new building on a football field, it's much more easier to manage because you design a new building, you know what you're putting in, how you put it in. But when they're phase construction, a lot of things are known and condition that you can't predict. So we have to carry more contingency. So soft cost is all of those design costs, architectural fee, owner contingency. Again, this project is $10 million worth of contingency.
Tom, anything else?
I'm sorry. The 2 numbers that you just mentioned, Alan, was it 191 and
193?
No, not 193. To be clear, that does not include the cost for the pool, correct?
Right, it does not.
It does not.
We need to, right,
Okay.
it does not. That's why we have to bring it back to $225 million. The pool is between Jim's $8 and $9 million, right?
Yeah, $8 million, call it. We had an estimate done on it.
Of which the state would pay 40%, right?
Yes.
David, I think you're next. So.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Mr. Keegan, I don't think had finished asking his questions. Go ahead.
Just, if I thank you, Councilman Uvelman. The state has indicated they'll only pay up to $189 million. So why would we expect them to pay 40% of the pool if the cost of the pool exceeds the 189?
Additional money would be needed.
And that'll be okay with the state? Or we
have to
don't?
request it.
Oh, okay.
David?
Sorry, trying to find the unmute button. I guess I'm confused. The 189 is the cap that the state's paying, or it's 80% of that 189 is what the state would pay?
80%.
80% of the
Total project cost 189. We requested 225. They allocated, they assigned the project budget $189 million.
Okay. So anything above and beyond, that's on the city.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I just one last, I mean, since you talk about numbers, want to let you know, typically the city gets reimbursable rate 32.3, I think, % for renovation work. For new construction, it's 22.3%. So when you compare, this is a rough number, let's say a $200 million project, between the 80% versus, let's say, 20%, it's a little low, right? We see a rough number. That's 60%. At $200 million, that's $120 million we're talking about. So again, I don't want to sound like, again, it's just, I just wanted to give you this information, the dollar amount that we're talking about. And also one number you want to think about is that every year we carry 5% contingency for increases right now. So for 1 year, we are talking about what, let's say, again, roughly use $200 million. 5%, you got $10 million a year in increase in pricing.
Greg?
Yeah, but Alan, just going back to that last statement about the reimbursement, there is the potential for anything that the city puts in above the 189 that we could apply for some reimbursement of that money. Is that correct? It wouldn't be at 80%. It would be at maybe a low percentage, or no?
No, they kept the project $189 million. We have to go up to the state to increase the funding.
So now I'm disconnected. I thought we just said that if we added the pool, there could be 40% reimbursement towards that. What was the 40% reimbursement related to?
They had previously approved the 40%. Pool usually does not get, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong. Pool, the state do not reimburse for pool, but we get a special legislation to reimburse the pool. But the problem is that the total project funding is below, it's $189 million. So even they approves 40% reimbursement, if we go over the budget, we don't get any reimbursement for the pool. But we need to go up to state and request additional money so that the pool will be eligible for 40%. It's approved for 40%. If the whole project comes in $189 million, the pool gets 40% reimbursement. Once you go over it, whatever amount above $189 million does not get reimbursement. So if you add the pool to it, if you just look at a pool, then the pool does not get any reimbursement under those circumstances.
Other questions, comments? Okay. Alan, thank you very much.
I think I burned everybody out.
That's a lot. We appreciate it. But, you know, everybody, I'm going to volunteer Alan to answer any questions anybody has.
Oh, sure.
I know you do that anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion. Miss Ayers. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.